Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, brought to us by Ubisoft. This is one of two games based on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for the NES, with the other one being created by Taito. This one was actually released after the Taito version, but is a port of a 1989 Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade game that appeared on many home computer systems. The game takes place over 6 levels with a few small goals that you have to complete in each. The game has noticeably poor graphics, especially for a pretty late NES title, as well as just some other clunkiness overall. The first level takes place in the cave, with our goal being to find the cross. We start off by heading downwards, and we have to deal with a few enemies along the way. Mashing the attack button, if you're quick enough, can actually stun lock enemies, but you have to do so very quickly. It's really hard to actually just bypass enemies in the game, because you have a very brief amount of invulnerability time, so usually you just end up bouncing off of them and getting knocked back, which is a bit of a pain. There are a few things to keep an eye out for throughout the course of the game, including the torches to be able to see in the dark here in the cave, though if it goes dark, you can still see your character and the enemies, as well as some of the platforms. It's just a little bit harder to see. There's also hourglasses that will give you more time. There is a relatively strict time limit, especially if you don't know where you're going in a stage. There's also the whip, which unfortunately we cannot get in the first level, but we'll have throughout every other level after this, and the occasional gun that appears late in the game to help you easily defeat certain enemies, but you have a limited amount of ammo for it. Following the path around, you'll see the cross up here, but we can't grab it yet. We're going to get past this enemy and then continue over to the left side. I recommend taking out this enemy. Don't try to bypass him, though you are able to do so, because we have to come right back through this chamber in just a few moments. Head up and then wait a moment for this guy on this rope to go back up so that you can make it safely up and to the right side. Once here, travel over. You're still watching out for a few of the spikes dropping from the ceiling, and when you make it over to this section here, drop down in order to grab the cross. An interesting way they handle fall damage in the game is instead of hurting you when you land, it actually can hurt you after you start falling for a small matter of time. So if you're falling and you see Indy start to flash and take damage, that's why. It's kind of a nuisance, but you can kind of manipulate it a little bit by falling a little bit, then grabbing a rope, and then falling a bit more, so you can still speed a little bit through areas. Once you have the cross, go back through the area we came, up the rope with the other guy, and then just a little bit farther till you face off with the first boss of the game. This guy is going to try to swing the giant piece of wood or a log at you, and every so often will stomp the ground, causing spikes to fall all in the same locations, which are unable to hit you if you're in this same location. Just keep getting up close to him and delivering punches every time that he ends up stomping the ground with the log. This gives you the most chance to go up, hit him a couple of times, and back away before he ends up doing his swing. Also, the hit detection on the swing of his log is a little bit loose, so you can actually punch him a few times, and then when you're running away, if the log starts to come out, you'll still be able to dodge it. It's a lengthy boss fight, but this is pretty much how every boss fight in this entire game is. Run up, hit, then back away to dodge, and then repeat the process over and over again till you finally drain all their health. Not necessarily the most exciting thing. The second level of the game is a very linear level, just having us go from left to right across the tops of the train. A little bit into the level, we'll finally get a hold of our whip, and once we have that, we can of course use that to greatly help our range as far as our attacking goes. Also, if you notice, when you jump, you move a little bit quicker. You scroll the level a little bit faster, so that's why a lot of times I'll spend my time jumping just to speed things up. Here I grab the whip for the first time, as well as a little bit of an hourglass right near it, and I actually grab another whip which powers it up. Unfortunately, the whip goes back to level 1 after you complete a stage, but powering up when you can will help out a little bit. A good way of dealing with enemies is if you're seeing them walking towards you, wait for them to then turn around and go the opposite way, even if you have to dodge a bullet or two, because they'll just keep walking the direction they are gonna go and only turn around when they reach the end of their path. So because of this, you can run up and keep whipping a guy from behind and he'll never turn around until he hits a certain point, giving you ample opportunity to take him out. The second boss of the game is this Native American guy firing arrows at us. He fires one straight up by standing and then ducks and fires another one. This same pattern will be reused 2 other times in 2 other boss fights, except they end up firing a gun at you instead of arrows, but it's the same deal. You want to make sure that you're ducking in front of him and keep whipping him. You'll be able to duck underneath the arrow that he shoots straight out, and then have to jump when he ducks and fires. The timing for it is pretty simple. When you see the arrow that he fires while standing disappear off screen, then do your jump. If you do this every time after seeing that arrow disappear, you'll be able to jump over every single one of his bottom arrows and easily take him down. The next level is another cave-like stage where we have to find pieces of a tablet. While it isn't linear fully, it's still a relatively easy path to follow. Start off by heading over to the right, taking down this rope, and grab the first tablet, giving you 3 pieces left for you to collect. Once you have that, grab a hold of the rope again, slide on down, grab help if you do need it. The fireballs that come down from the ceiling are extremely deadly and can drain your health immediately after being hit by them. The other enemies, like the rats, aren't too bad, so just keep that in mind. If the flames are coming down, quickly get past them or wait for them to dissipate before attempting to go past. After grabbing the second piece, we just continue along the same path, grabbing the next piece of the tablet, wait for this guy to start going the opposite way, and then immediately start whipping at his back to take him out and continue along this path. Once over to the left, grab a hold of this rope, go on down, and grab the third tablet. Just be careful not to fall into the pit of bones that's located there, which will actually end up hurting you. Watch out for this rat and a couple of small little jumps you'll have to make over some water, as well as more death pits. And then eventually you'll make it up to these ropes and can jump over to the left, grabbing the fourth and final piece of the tablet, finishing up the stage by climbing up the rope and heading to the right for the boss fight. For this boss, he's standing on top of the platform trying to spit fireballs down at you. Just continue to whip him a little bit. You'll see him take a drink from the jug here, and then he'll spit out the fireball a few moments later. The timing's pretty simple, and as soon as you actually see the fireball, you can then turn around and walk away. You have enough time once that fireball appears to still be able to get away because it moves relatively slowly in comparison to the bullets and arrows that we dealt with in the previous boss fight. Still a really lengthy encounter overall, but a pretty easy one if you can get this down. Once this guy is finally taken care of, though, we are moving on to the next level, which is at the castle. For this level, we have to find pages of the diary. Start off by grabbing the whip upgrade and then go over to the left and climb up to grab the first piece of the diary. Once you have that, continue along over to the right. There's going to be a Nazi guy waiting for you. Whip him from behind to take him out and then climb up the rope that's right next to him. After doing so, jump over to the left and either take out this Nazi if you want to, or you can actually make a big leap over him in order to take him out, and then repeat the process the opposite way by using the climbable thing to the left. Climb up this rope and grab yourself another whip, so now we have level 3 whip, and then you can actually whip across this little gap. Climb up here and take out another one of the Nazi guys if you want to, or just climb up and grab the next page. Once you have the page, you can use this climbing thing to head on over to the left side. You may accidentally end up falling onto the Nazi like I do, but either way, keep climbing. You can grab a gun located here. If you want to use that later, you can. Climb up and grab the next page of the diary. With that, head back on over to the right side, climb down a little bit, and then you're going to want to make a big leap off of this platform here. This will allow you to land safely on this one, which you will take a small amount of fall damage for doing so. Either way, take out this guy and then continue climbing up to the top. Once you make it to the top level, just head on over to the right side. You can swing across the gap and move on to the boss fight here. This boss is very similar to the Native American we fought earlier, except he's firing a gun at you. Walk up close, you may have to duck underneath the first bullet, and then jump over when he ducks. Since we have the level 3 whip, his health will go down in just a matter of moments. You can go ahead and use the gun to help you out if you want to make things quicker, but the level 3 whip is plenty to deal with him. You do have to jump a little bit sooner than when the bullet disappears, like we did with the Native Americans' arrows. The timing is a little bit more precise, but overall still relatively easy. And once he's done, we're moving on to the next level where we have to escape the ship here. Start off by climbing up a couple of ladders, and you'll have to whip this Nazi. You can do so from the ladder itself, or just wait for him to turn around, climb up, and then take him out. Climb up the next couple of ladders here, but head to the left, all the way to the left here, and climb up these 2 ladders, which will lead you to a key. You have to have this key in order to enter the plane at the end of this area to face off with the boss. If you make it to the end of the level without the key, you just stand on top of the plane, and you don't finish the level, which is pretty annoying. Either way, work your way starting over now to the right side, and eventually you'll find a gun. I do recommend picking it up because it will greatly end up helping you out with the boss of the stage. Head on down here, you can wait for this guy to turn around and take him out, and then continue along the path. At this point, it's pretty linear to get through this. It's a relatively easy stage, just making sure you grab that key, but once you have it, you're pretty much going to be taking every ladder just about that you end up running into. This guy is a little bit hard to get to attack him when he's facing the one direction, but either way, once he is taken out, you can also grab a little bit of extra time if you need it. Continuing over to the left side, you do have 2 ladders, but the first one you come to will instantly take you all the way down, where the other one will only take you 1 level down. Then climb up the next ladder. This guy we're just going to avoid and immediately go down that next ladder, heading all the way down to the next floor, and then down another similar ladder down to the ground level. Once here, you'll find another gun. Be sure to pick it up so we now have a good amount of ammo, and then you can either jump over this guy, take him out, whatever you want to do, and then climb up the next ladder. Just a few more ladders left in the area before we end up coming to this one where we climb down and make it to the boss. This guy is just the same as the last boss we dealt with, firing a gun by either standing up and then ducking and firing the next bullet. I usually do a little bit of damage and then switch over to the gun and fire off all the rounds I have, which does so much damage. Usually it's enough by the time I've whipped him just for a few moments to take him out. Or you can use the gun first and then just finish him off with the whip. Either way, use the gun ammo as much as you have. That'll get rid of most of his health, and then finish him off with a whip and move on to the next stage. The next level of the game is the final level of the game. Not a whole lot going on in here as far as having to find anything. We just have to travel on through it. There is a few jumps here and there, buzzsaws going back and forth in rock formations, and a few Nazi enemies to deal with as well. A lot of them you'll be able to avoid their bullets and then just whip them from behind. You do have the letters here with the Jehovah being spelled out, but you can kind of just jump across them for the most part, and the ones that end up being false, usually you can avoid by just doing some simple jumping to get across easier. After a few more buzzsaws and one more set of letters, you make it to the end where you'll see a gap, but there's actually a walkway there, so just jump across or walk across, and you've made it to the end of the game, but you do have to choose the Holy Grail. It's really simple. All you gotta do is select the plain looking one, the second one here, the one that looks like that. And once you do so, you get the brief ending to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And there you have it, there's the ending, the wonderful ending to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Overall, when it comes to both Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade games, the Taito version is usually considered much better, and I think it is in a lot of regards, but even that game is extremely flawed and not a whole lot of fun to play. In fact, if I have a choice to play either one, I'm going to pick this one, just because I find it a little bit less frustrating. Still, it ends up being a little piece of neat gaming history, the fact that we got two different games by two different developers for the same system based on the same movie. But anyway, guys, it's going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.